So there's this Make America Healthy Again bill or project or something going on, right?
Yeah.
And they published a paper or something like that. I haven't read the paper, but apparently we suspect it was AI generated, and I had a bunch, like the citations were fake, linked to papers that didn't exist, which is
Okay.
symptomatic of AI generated stuff. And so there was this health communicator on TikTok who was doing a video explaining to people things.
Okay.
She opened up her video by saying, like, a lot of people have been asking me, who cares? Why is it important for citations in the paper to be real? And then so she's going to explain, she's going to give the answer to that, right? And my reaction
Okay.
is, people don't know why it's important for the citations to be real.
Yeah.
So it's just
Right.
mind-boggling. This is the median intelligence level of North Americans. I'm like astonished.
Yeah. I'm afraid people are less educated, less intelligent, and less good decision makers than you would want them to be in general.
And so it's one of the things that triggered in me this existential fear thing. We talked about the existential fear in the past that I had of, like, am I wrong? Like,
Right.
when it's so obvious that a lot of these policies are
Yeah.
bad, but people don't seem to think that. So then am I wrong? And so it's happening again where, like, so I'll try to explain, and maybe you can help me say, why is it important for the citations to be real? These documents, when you publish a paper saying, like, you should get COVID vaccinated or whatever, you're making some sort of recommendation like that. The idea is that there's a link between the claims being made in the paper and reality. This isn't an opinion, it's good advice in some objective sense. Well, how do we know it's good advice? Because we did some studies, we did some research. We looked at what happens. I'm going to hand wave simplify here. What happens if you do get vaccines? What happens if you don't get vaccines? We look at the outcomes, and we said, on average, it's better if you do get the vaccines. And here's the exact study we did. Here's the numbers. Here's the results we got. So if you think we made a mistake, you can double check it. You can see it. Then we come to the wrong conclusions. It's available there for you to check. And so that's why the citations are important. If you just make up a citation, then the advice you give might not be anchored to reality. Like, you can say, it's a good idea to eat cyanide. See this study that proves it. And then you cite a study that doesn't exist. This is so fundamental. Again, I feel stupid for even saying it or explaining it out loud.
Yeah. So people learn the process of verifying sources through a couple different stages. Typically, the first stage is there's no need to verify. What has been told to you is just accurate. It was in a textbook, or your parents said it, or it's in the Bible or something like that. And then we complicate that understanding, and people learn that some of what's in those sources is not fully verified. And that causes a crisis in people. They start thinking, well, like, so anything could be published? Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I could just say whatever I want and just say that, like, my experts say that. And we resolve that by explaining that some sources are better than others. And then the fourth stage is giving them tools beyond just how credible the person sounds to evaluate for themselves whether or not some sources are better than others. And it's a hierarchical stage, and many people never reach that fourth stage.
It feels like nobody can get past the first stage even.
A lot of people don't. And what I worry about sometimes with education is that actually we've gotten a lot of people past the first stage and maybe even to the second stage, and we just sort of abandoned them there. And so they now think, well, anybody's opinion is fine. They're all equal. There's no such thing as truth, because within the textbooks could be a big lie. Big pharma is lying to you, what the big companies don't want you to know, that sort of stuff. And then after that, they think, and so whatever opinion I like could also be equally true. And I think we've left a lot of people there in their decision-making skills at one of those two stages. And we haven't helped them get to, and there are ways to tell which sources are better than others. It isn't just dependent on whether somebody is in the president's cabinet or not. That person would still be at stage 3 and say, well, you know, the CDC is a more credible source than this guy I met on TikTok. Even that's...
It's a heuristic that used to work, kind of.
Right. Exactly. The CDC used to be more accurate. And we just don't get a lot of people to stage 4 where we explain, like, no, the point of the scientific method is it is a way to, over time, through collaborative effort, evaluate which sources are good sources. And I just think we just don't get a lot of people there.
Yeah. I didn't articulate the way you did, but this thing that you're gesturing at is something that's been bothering me for, I guess, a year now. Right. And you see that in how I've been pushing recently in front of you, Steph, and also when you're not around. Like the moon formation around Mercury, right? The whole how do you know?
How do
What's
you
the
know?
experiment
Yeah.
that you did? Or you read it somewhere? Well, how did they know?
Yeah.
And so that's where this urge, this imperative that I'm feeling, this panic in a sense of like, wait, normies don't know this?
Exactly. And some people have called this like we've reached like a post-truth world.
Yeah.
Like we've reached this bizarre anti-expertise, but also anti-truth. It's concerning to a lot of people. If we can't fundamentally agree that some things are true and that there are ways to determine what's true and what's not, and that that could help us arbitrate a lot of arguments, or at least get things built, it is concerning for the future of democracy
Yeah.
or the future of humanity.
Yeah.